Great. Well, good morning, everyone in Asia. Good evening if you are in the US and anywhere in between. So, welcome to our live stream event. My name is Stefano. I am the program lead with LongHash Ventures. And so LongHash Ventures is a investor and accelerator in Web3 projects. And today we want to share a little bit more about LongHashX, which is our accelerator program. So as part of as LongHashX, we run a 12-week structured accelerator program. We focus a lot on Web3 topics, and some of the areas of support that we provide to the projects are around product strategy and design, tokenomics, governance, liquidity mining, technical mentorship, and fundraising. And we are just in the process right now of recruiting for our next cohort, which is going to kick off later this year towards late September, early October. And currently we have our applications open for this cohort, which will close on the 9th of August. For the next cohort, we're going to have two tracks. The first one is the DeFi track, where we're running it in collaboration with the Asia DeFi Network, which is a network of DeFi projects, crypto native investors, non-crypto native investors, and then different players in the DeFi ecosystem. And then the second track is the Filecoin track, which we run in collaboration with Protocol Labs, which is really for the projects that are building on Filecoin. And you'll learn a little bit more about these two in the next hour. So for today, what we wanted to do today is a number of things. So first of all, for the live stream event, we wanted to share with you what what the program is typically like, and to really do this by illustrating what a workshop or a fireside chat with one of our mentors is in the program. So as part of this, we have quite a few of our mentors who will be sharing today. So first of all, we're going to have ZX from Protocol Labs. He's going to talk a little bit about what it's like to build on Filecoin, what you can potentially build. And then he's also going to share his own experience as a mentor to projects that have gone through our Filecoin Frontier Accelerator earlier this year. Then a little bit after that, you'll hear some testimonials from our accelerated projects, and you'll hear from them directly on what was the experience like going through the accelerator, what kind of support did they get, and what are some of the most valuable things they received from the 12-week program. Then after that, we'll switch gears, and we're going to talk about our DeFi track. We will hear from Arthur from Defiance Capital, Mable from Multicoin, TM from Coingecko, and Ty from SCB 10X Ventures. And they're going to talk a little bit about what is the landscape of DeFi in Asia. What are community members and users looking for when it comes to DeFi protocols, and then also sharing their own perspective, as investors into DeFi. Obviously with an Asian perspective. After that, we'll have about 10-15 minutes at the end for a Q&A. And so please, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, send us your questions. You can send us the questions in the YouTube chat. You can send us your questions through Twitter at LongHashVC. And if you're joining us from China, then you can send us your questions through the various Asia DeFi Network WeChat groups. So without further ado, I will introduce our first mentor and speaker of today, ZX from Protocol Labs. So ZX, take it away.
Great, thank you. Hi everyone, great to be here. Let me share my screen real quick. Is it loaded? Can you guys see my screen? I'm going to get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Jiang. Excited to be here. I lead Cryptoeconomics Lab at Protocol Labs, and then I work on Filecoin ecosystem growth and collaboration. Today, I will just show you guys a little bit more about what are the business opportunities that are possible to be built on Filecoin. And then at the end of the presentation, I will also share a bit more about what is it like to join the LongHashX program, and then some of our mentorship that we provide to the Accelerator. So let's get started. So what is Filecoin, right? Like this is a very useful Multicoin as like an Airbnb for cloud services, but it's also way bigger than just an Airbnb. You can also think of it as an island economy where you have like different participants putting together raw materials to produce storage-related goods and services. Like you have researchers building the algorithms and token holder providing liquidity, providing collateral, and then you have amassing all the resources to produce like goods and services, and then they sell that to clients, and then like you have developers, entrepreneurs, right, building application experience that really makes Filecoin unique and makes Web3 useful. And then the overall goal for everyone in this network is really to bring on more potential clients and participants into Web3. So it's a multifaceted system. Like you have, it's a utility. Filecoin is a utility token, a platform, a protocol, it's a blockchain, and it's a community, an economy, and it's also a very vibrant ecosystem. And more importantly, it's always evolving, just like any other blockchain networks. And Filecoin is also uniquely positioned to support both Web 2 and Web 3 use cases. I think of Web 2 as like, I have some file I need to store with somebody, right? How do I find it, right? You can find storage providers on Filecoin. And then Web 3, in a sense, is like all these different building blocks, emergence, right? New interaction that were not possible with like existing infrastructure made possible with all these like Web 3 technologies. So I will start from some of the Web 2 business opportunities. So first of all, like when we use storage on Filecoin, because Filecoin is a protocol, what you're really using is the storage provided by the storage providers or miners on the Filecoin network, right? Storage is provided through some kind of like shipping container. We call them sectors, right? Like so redundancy, encryption, indexing, fast retrieval, these features that would be useful or possible on Filecoin. But remember that Filecoin is very unique. So layer call, as we know from all the other blockchain network, they are designed to like, first of all, they only care about the most important thing, which is like, if a miner or provider is storing a file, does the file exist, or is the file constantly being proven? Do we have a proof, right? Like, but it's also designed for emergence. So lots of these feature in the UX can be further improved through like layer 2 protocols or through the application on top of Filecoin, right? And while the cost of storage on Filecoin is very competitive today, as you can see from this dashboard built by the community, I think it's not just about cost, right? Just like Airbnb, it's not always just about cost. It's already about that expense. And I think right now it's the perfect time to build on Filecoin. It's still a blue ocean. There's lots of room for building and defining the Web3 experience. And because it's a platform services, so that opens client miner matching opportunities, right? Like for a client, they need to find like providers. Also have this whole layer of Filecoin Plus, where like the whole community is incentivized to do BD for the network, which is almost unheard of in all of Web3. Like miners, providers, going out and bringing more to use the platform, right? And this opened the door to like application to improve the UX, right? Like, and you can have multiple of these dual matching platforms. That's why I said it's like Airbnbs with an S and like job boxes on the Filecoin network. And then like reputation system and ratings will become very useful. And then potentially we can define grades of storage services, and that will become a precursor to commoditize cloud storage. And then in the future, we might have like new exchange structure on the cloud service resources. And that's like a good segue to like buy and all these other market structure that we have been experimenting as a community. And of course, like with storage cross compute, where like lots of Filecoin miners, they amass lots of storage resources. It also have their compute resources just right alongside the storage. So this co-location of compute, right? People can now build platform total Filecoin storage, And even you can store algorithms as a file on Filecoin as well. Then you can have verifiable compute. And then we also saw miners offering Snark GPU as a service, caching and retrieval. Lots of teams are building in this direction as well. These are all very exciting opportunities. Right now, Filecoin has like 8 exabyte of storage. Do we make that more useful? How do we get that into the hands of the client when people request for it? So lots of application in this direction as well. And last but not least, we talk about Filecoin mining involves collateral because we need to incentivize reliable storage, incentivize the security of the network. So financial services are very useful in risk, providing liquidity and reducing uncertainty, right? Like even miners, sometimes they also face like volatility of the chain. But having said that, it's entirely possible finance all participants to be shielded from token volatility. So it's not true that when somebody use Filecoin for storage, they have to bear the cost, but that is also an opportunity for builders and entrepreneurs, right? And with services coming up, data services will become more and more important to help participants make more informed decisions. And they kind of go hand in hand, like the strong network analytics will also pave the way for more sophisticated products, financial product on Filecoin. So we talk about some of these Web2 opportunities, Web2 style opportunities, but I also want to just emphasize, I think it brings a very unique building block to Web3. What do I mean by that? So let's just take a recap on what are the elements of Web3, right? We are still defining this together as a community, but a lot of that is like ownership, transparency, permissionless participation, community governance, and then you can compose different building blocks and lots of new interactions can emerge. And a big part of that really is like this, right? Like, and this like novel business model that were possible before Web3. So then we look back at some of the successful cases. Right? If we first look at DeFi, I think there were many DApp there was like back in like the 2017, but many of them didn't product market fit, right? And DeFi as a concept been around for a while, but it's only until maybe like 2018 when we first just like major protocol building on top of Ethereum as a layer 2 when they demonstrate that this concept could work, and they're leveraging the core building block that's provided by Ethereum, and then with all this composable building block, we really see like this emergence of like different DeFi protocols building on various layer 1. So I think the takeaway here potentially is like we need to find a product market fit, and we really leverage on what the unique advantage of the layer 1 protocol, and then we take entrepreneur to build like successful cases and protocols on top of the layer 1s, and then like this protocol can kind of be composed with each other to create even more emergence. And then we also look at NFTs, right? It was the idea came around like early 2017, right? Standard was first defined, but people were like, oh yeah, it could work, but we don't exactly know what's possible. And then until we have CryptoKitty, right, where we really demonstrate like as a reference implementation, reference application of like how far this concept can go. And then we started to see a whole waves of NFT projects and protocols and like marketplaces emerging from this ecosystem. And then we have like the more recent NFT. So the question then becomes, so what is the unique value prop? What is the unique building block that Web3 brings, that Filecoin brings to Web? I want to just talk about this concept called the Dataverse, and this whole smart data supply chain, right? Just to note that this whole supply chain is very common in Web2 today. Many multi-billion dollar businesses being built, have been built and still being built just from this supply chain of data. And I think like we can see lots of this new interaction on Web3 as well, and potentially we can see multiple billion-dollar businesses being built on Filecoin and Web3. So the data supply chain goes as follows, right? You have the data production, and then somebody will refine the data and pull out the insight, and then they package that and curate the data, and then they sell it, right? And this is where the value generation attribution happen. Classic example of Bloomberg, right? Multi-billion-dollar business. And then we map it to like the Web3 or the Filecoin IPFS stack, right? You have the IPFS is like the content addressable web, right? You have the content address layer, where you have this whole network of nodes and edges. And then you have Filecoin. What Filecoin brings to the table, I think one is like huge volume of storage, right? You have 1 petabyte of storage capacity being onboarded every hour, right? And then you also have this proof, right? Now you have a proof that your storage exists, right? On Filecoin right now generates a proof their data is being stored every 24 hours. And right now there is no like user-defined smart contract and Filecoin. So potentially we may have a bridge layer that is through an oracle or through different kinds of like bridges. These are not just usual like token bridges, right? These are data bridges, these are value bridges. It's really bridge with the different smart business logic layer, like the smart contract. And so you can define new interaction on the smart contract layer, and then through these bridges, you kind of like connect that with the underlying storage and the value on the Filecoin network. So now you can have smart contract logic being triggered by events on the Filecoin network. So another way to look at this is like you have like the all the storage and data and the value on Filecoin, and then you have different ecosystem, and then you have data, token, and user moving along the bridges to really like create new interaction and really like bring on the next million or users onto Web3. So there are many bridges like this, and many people started to make lots of effort here. And then we saw like, new bridges being built, new application being built almost every day, not every day, almost every like, week. And so you have the Filecoin training bridge, you have a Filecoin Ethereum, Filecoin Near, and then like more bridges are coming. And then here, I just want to give some idea that the community on what are the things that people like, right? You have data bounties where a smart contract can pull together funds. For the storage of a particular CID, a CID is a unique representation of the itself, right? You can think of like a CID could be an NFT, right? And the content of the NFT. The funds are only paid out when proof that it has been stored on file, right? Then you can, and from the data bounties, you can create data DAOs where DAOs or protocols can be formed around data that the community cares about, right? And then like people, and there are various interactions that you can define how people can participate in such a pool. And then from there, you have insurance on storage, commodity futures on storage, and then you can incentivize miner to fix the storage if there is sufficient incentive, right? And then content first NFT, one of my favorite subjects, right? Like actually, if you think about it, every deal ID on Filecoin, which is a unique version, can be considered as an NFT, right? So and then we in the last 1 year, we talk a lot about like the pros and cons of NFT. How can we further improve? How can we bring it to the next level, right? I think an observation here is like the value is content, right? The metaverse should be really open, right? Everybody can upload content, and then like they can figure out how they want to monetize and what how they do the chat, and then that's a much bigger world than just like a trade and transaction with NFT as like some of us may see today. So you have VR content that brought on games, 3D printing models, and like machine learning models and data set, and many more. They can all become NFTs to really build the foundation for the metaverse or the dataverse, right? And then the next kind of like big idea here is that we have these underlying network IDs. So then you can do value attribution in a much more powerful way before. And then the question then becomes what is a node, what is an edge, how do we define those, and then how do we define the value flow, right? This is this like tremendous amount of opportunity for defining this and defining like new protocols. And then as I mentioned earlier, each CID can also be like algorithms, Filecoin as well. So you can create verifiable, when you have compute plus data, you can generate more data. So there's lots of really exciting opportunity here as well. So lastly, I mentioned, right, like we should leverage the unique Filecoin building blocks and really fill in the gap to provide new experiences. And lots of these are very exciting business opportunities, whether it's a layer call, whether it's a new application, new platform, a new standard, right? Like you can define perpetual storage protocol on Filecoin, contemporary protocol on Filecoin. I also think about it as like where is incentive to really bring people to Web3, bring people to upload their data, right? If you think about traditional Web2 platform when they first launch, right? There are lots of whether financial or social incentive to really for people to use them to upload their data. And the difference here is that they also own their data as Web3. So with that in mind, I think it really is an exponentially growing ecosystem. We welcome all participants, all entrepreneurs to really build on this new frontier of Web3. Lots of alpha, lots of like untapped potential in terms of the interactions that can be built on the Filecoin network. And a common question that I always ask startups in the ecosystem and Accelerator: are we building an application or a service, a platform, a protocol, a standard, or an industry? Fortunate that we are at the very onset of something really exciting. So we have lots of degrees of freedom in defining what we are building, and that gives us a very different outlook as a business. And then think about what new interactions can we enable, and how can we iterate and then find product market fit quickly. So some key takeaways: Filecoin is really uniquely positioned to support both Web 2 and Web 3 use cases as a technology and network, and it really stands to make blockchain useful and mainstream, right? There are immense opportunities in building layer 2 protocols. This model is really key, and there are many areas that we can explore together as a community. Please spread the word. Join LongHashX. It's a great program. We have lots of mentors from all over Web3, and then we also have mentors from Protocol Labs mentoring at different aspects of the business, right? I personally focus more on business model, token, go-to-market, and it's really in future. And then we welcome everyone to build the future with us. And feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Yeah, I will pass on the time back to Burry.
Hi everyone, my name is Marta, and I am leading the community growth and development at Balancer Labs. I had the pleasure of working with LongHash Ventures after Balancer received a very generous investment and was qualified for the Asia DeFi Accelerator. Stefano and Shikai were really incredible partners and provided great feedback and valuable support. We started with some initial meetings discussing Balancer's expectations and needs and how can LongHash Ventures support our development of APAC community. Additionally, they also had some good ideas on where could we improve. They were very proactive. We had weekly calls during which we discussed the governance, the grants, community building, and so on and so forth. And to be honest, every week I came away with so many great ideas and so many action items. I couldn't ask for more. Their professionalism and constructive feedback really helped me structure our strategy. In fact, it was so helpful that at the end of the program, we invited Stefano and Shikai as advisors to our liquidity mining community.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayush. I'm one of the co-founders of Huddle 01. My experience of Filecoin Frontier Accelerator was great. Thanks to the office hours, investor relations, we grew rapidly during our time at Filecoin Accelerator. Thanks.
Guys, this is Jeff with Zenpool. Just making a quick video to express my love and appreciation for the team at LongHash. They've helped us out a lot throughout the last 4 to 5 months, introduced us to key industry parties that we have partnered with, introduced us to various investors that have invested in our platform. So if you guys are considering a blockchain-based incubator, for sure check out LongHash. Wow, they did a great job at Zenpool. So as a token of my appreciation, please accept this painting that I drew. In all seriousness, LongHash is very connected within the crypto space, not just in Singapore, but also in China, in various parts in Europe as well. So if you're considering joining an incubator, they should be on the top of your list.
Go to intros in a bit. I'd just like to set some context for today's session. So DeFi projects are growing really quickly in the current climate. And one of the recurring themes we keep hearing is that projects and founders are saying, we want to focus on Asia growth, right? Asia strategy, we want to build this Asia community. But often this kind of Asia's this whole black box where the teams don't know where to start, but they just know it's important. So today I want to shed light onto this topic and hearing from people who are actually on the ground from various countries in Asia. So let's go to each of the guests and start with a quick self-intro and what you do and also where you are based. Shall we start with, just alphabetical, Arthur?
Hi, I'm Arthur. I'm the founder of Defiance Capital. Defiance Capital is one of the most active and largest DeFi-focused investment fund based in Singapore. I've been an active participant and investor in the DeFi space since the very beginning. Witnessed the growth of the entire DeFi space, such as Aave from the launch to right now 20 billion in deposits, early days of synthetics, Kyber network, sushi swaps, continue to invest in the DeFi protocol around the world.
Thanks, Arthur.
I guess next one is myself.
Yep.
Hi everyone. My name is Mable. I'm from Multicoin Capital. I sit in Hangzhou, China, where the rest of the team is actually around different places in the United States. We run really two funds. One is the hedge fund, which deal with fundamental driven liquid strategies, versus the other part is the venture fund, where we invest in early stage private projects, token projects, and companies. DeFi is part of our big thesis, three big theses. And then I definitely think we've been spending a lot of time, thinking about what are some of the product strategies, comparing Eastern ones to the Western ones, and also what really kind of gives a project more success versus the other ones in one specific region, although DeFi is a global liquidity. So I'm happy to be here and discuss with all of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Panich. I'm the CIO and Chief VC at SCB10X. We are the digital technology investment arm of Siam Commercial Bank, which is the biggest and oldest bank in Thailand. For me, I'm looking after both venture capital and venture building. Starting from last year, we identified that blockchain and DeFi is the area that can have potential disruptive future to the bank. So we would like to focus on that area to prepare the bank, for the time that that thing could be much different.
Myself, I'm TM, co-founder at Coingecko. So Coingecko is basically a cryptocurrency data aggregator where you're going to find out about prices, any sort of market data for any tokens out there. You can look it up on Coingecko. So DeFi has been something that we've been focusing on for quite a bit. We've been diligently trying to integrate, trying to make sense of all the data that is happening on chain, and we're trying to aggregate them and display on Coingecko. And very excited to be in this discussion to talk about DeFi in Asia and also where this space is going.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for the very quick self-intro. And so just to recap, I think we're seeing, we have people from Singapore, from China and Hangzhou, from Thailand, and also in Malaysia, and myself based in Singapore as well. Conversation very real, right? So we want to go with some very real examples and very practical tips. And so let's warm up with a bit of that.
I'll start with among my circle, what DeFi products are people using. I think actually we're really seeing them using a variety of them. Most people started from using the blockchain, but as the gas fee increased over the last few months, a lot more people start getting priced out of it. And as a result, most of the people with, I would say less than $1 million of balance start experimenting with the DeFi application on other blockchains such as Binance Smart Chain and recently Polygon as well. Myself, I have been using all of them as well just to try it out and experimenting with them. Back to the whole Asia community is underexposed to DeFi. I think it's first of all, we need to know that Asia is a very big region. And I actually have thought of a good way to segment it. I will actually segment Asia community to, first of all, the English speaking community. And the second one is the Chinese speaking community. And then there's others, sorry to do. So I think that the English-speaking Asia community are actually the fastest to catch up with DeFi, especially in Singapore. There's quite a number of DeFi whales in Singapore because Singapore have a very friendly tax system for interacting with crypto and DeFi, and so that actually make the whole process easier. And yeah, Singapore is just a pretty digital nation in a whole. And we're also seeing other country like Philippines, all this thing, they actually been earning some of their income on DeFi and NFT as well, such as Philippines and Indonesia. I think they are quite a big, decent group of NFT player that's playing Axie Infinity, and they've been actually generating income from playing this game as well. And so this, I think, also making them interacting with DeFi as well. And then you have the Chinese speaking community, which actually has been growing very quickly over the last 6 months, and to be a very big forces in as a user in most of the DeFi applications. So I would say that a very significant chunk of the BSC community is slightly coming from the Chinese community, and they are definitely growing because they see where the opportunity is. And then we have the others, and I would say that this is the other segment are where it's lagging behind quite a fair bit, especially for Japan and Korea. These two countries actually was one of the earliest adopter of crypto, and they have a lot of good, big major exchanges. The user base is quite wide, but they still have not really been using DeFi in a major way. I think there's a few reasons behind it. One of this is like the historical reason that most of the knowledge of DeFi has been communicated in English, and they are just do not interact with the English speaking community that often.
Yeah, thanks, Arjun. Actually, that's an insightful segmentation. Definitely, I think the English speaking and then the localization and then the local culture of each country definitely affects the rate of DeFi adoption. And anecdotally, I think it's very aligned with what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I could see being very obvious is to also rehash what Arthur mentioned with regard to the Philippine user base playing Axie Infinity. So look at the breakdown of the most popular pages in Southeast Asia, for example. Philippines is one of the highest, and then what do they look at? They look at things like SLP, which is the breeding token in Axie Infinity, and also the Axie Infinity token itself. And while it may not seem very obvious at first glance that this is not related to DeFi, but the fact that Axie Infinity, the game, has cracked the play to earn model really, really well. In the Philippines, during COVID and even before COVID, people are always looking for ways to, increase their income share, right? When you're in Southeast Asia, for example. So they found a way that they can just play this game and be able to sell the resources that they accumulate to someone else and then be able to tap into DeFi. Right? Naturally, you have to use things like Uniswap to sell your tokens and then go onto a fiat gateway to cash out your earnings. So that's what we are seeing right now. And then of course, like the second highest like page views are things like PancakeSwap, right? It's everywhere. Right? This is happening in Indonesia, Vietnam, India. So this shows that a lot of the retail people are really just looking at BSC and looking at cheap ways to make use of all these services and find yields all over the place. But also top it up that I think the way I see it also we segment users also based on this crossing the chasm kind of curve. Like there is this early adopter, late majority, early majority, and then the laggards, right? So which is very similar to what Arthur put it. But this could also be applicable towards the entire world. Like within Asia itself, is a very, very specific problem. So like you just bring in a swap service into say Philippines, for example, it wouldn't work the same way like you bring a swap service in the US. You have to find out what is it that they're looking for. And in this case, like for Axie Infinity, they found out that people in Philippines have to play a game and they found out they can earn money from it, and that sort of creates a problem. And I think every country in Southeast Asia has this sort of things that we need to figure out. When it comes to South Korea and Japan, I think also as Arthur mentioned, why there's not much interest in DeFi. I think also because that historically they've always been very familiar with forex trading, so they love to do high frequency trades on the exchange, which is why when they see DeFi, maybe they're not so used to. So yeah, those are some of my viewpoint.
Of course, we have to address the elephant in the room, which is the Chinese community. So we understand that China, in many respects, is quite a unique case. It's like a walled garden in a way, like the whole internet, you need to use VPN for many sites are blocked, right? The social media is totally different. You use like WeChat, live stream, you use like Bilibili instead of like Crowdcast or YouTube. And like even the news sites, right? You consume from like Chain News or Mars Finance, Lianwen or Jinse Caijing instead of like CoinDesk or the block. So everything is almost like a parallel system. So Mable, given you are in the middle of all of this, what's your take on this Chinese community sentiment and trends in DeFi? And let's get very specific as well. What are some good examples of projects who have successfully grow a real community there? What did they do right, or what did they do wrong that we can learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely given a lot of thought around this. I think generally speaking, for Chinese speaking people, people like we kind of, I was joking internally that we have an updated thesis for our open finance, which is like, we should invest in projects that do stuff. So what does that mean? It has like a few connotation around it. First of all, it's obviously, the projects are constantly giving a lot of updates to the community, so that like people are constantly in the know like where they are, even if it's like half-baked product, but at least like they have the interaction with the community. And then second of all, like they do have a lot of like various iteration of their product itself, and then they basically just let people try out version 1.1, 1.2, and then constantly taking feedback from the market and iterate from there again. And also more beyond that, I think a good example is sushi. So sushi compared to uni, I actually wrote an article in the past. I thought that was kind of summarized what really the contrast was. Like, so for sushi, they really kind of navigate the market via a lot of operational strategies versus I think Uniswap was focusing more on the product angle. Like it was focusing on iterating the meticulous tweak of whatever, from V2 to V3. Obviously there was like a big, giant leap, in between, and a lot of design was put into the thought of that. But there's a large gap in between. People don't know what's going on in between, and people just wondering, and nobody really can give an answer for that. Versus sushi, they like to engage with the community. They like to let people know monthly or weekly what they've been actually doing, what are the newest development on the roadmap, and then what are some of the added feature to enhance or complement the user experience for the AMM and whatnot. So I think that's like really, and then also they co-marketing a lot with the project that launching with them. For example, I think Onzen and Miso that's launching tonight. I think that's like those are a really, really good example compared to Uniswap. I don't think there's any way to judge whether one way is better than the other one, but just like I think the sushi swap kind of route is better fit for Asian or specifically Chinese community. People like to have a lot of update from the DeFi projects. So kind of summarize my point there. I think the Chinese community really like to have the kind of more operational strategy focus and more smaller steps in the product update, rather than you give them a very well thought and then like fully baked product once in a while, and then you just disappear in between. I don't have much interaction. So I think that's probably one of my biggest observation over the past, I'd say, like 1 year or two.
Awesome. Yeah. Because when you say like they communicate like sushi, right? But it's like a fair launch project. So who actually communicates, right? Like the community took it out themselves and they wrote content in Chinese, they moderate this group themselves. How did they come to do all this stuff?
Yeah, so this is another interesting thing that I wanted to point out. For many of the projects that I think were thriving in China, they usually have a China-based China lead. For sushi, there was someone who's she's part of the team, but then like she's leading a lot of effort on, she doesn't name herself as China lead, but at least like she's a native speaker. She delivers all the content in Chinese. And then even I think right now, if I wasn't mistaken, the website itself is even translated into Chinese. So I remember there's like a small incident like a year ago when someone used Compound. They don't understand what one of the racial meant, and then they just accidentally get liquidated. So I thought that was a really interesting contrast compared to what Sushi is trying to do. Like they try to really deliver the materials, the marketing materials, the monthly update in the corresponding language. I think China was probably one of the biggest market for them. I don't know really the kind of actual number because I don't have the data, but I think they realized this is like super important to have the native customization, and I thought that was a really smart strategy.
Awesome. Thanks, Neil. A lot to learn from there. I see Arthur kind of like agreeing a lot. You want to jump in with some reactions or comments here before we go to you?
No, I would echo what Mable has said. Yeah, I think there's really a lot on the execution side, and also trying to put more different product feature inside one single app to become a super app instead of like the more like a specialization. I think this seems to be what the Asian community has been more used to.
Yeah,
That was my thesis as well.
nice. Some clear, very strong thesis here. Now coming to the English-speaking side, Singapore. So we have this tiny country here, but somehow we're punching well above its weight, right, in Singapore. So there's this huge concentration of talent and capital that's like really world class. You mentioned quite a few whales here, right? And of course, recently we know Alex from Nansen also moved here, and I mean yourself being based here, one of the leading lights also. So what is up with Singapore? Like, why is this little island crypto becoming a crypto hub?
A lot of reasons, but I think the first reason is that Singapore traditionally, especially over the last 10 years, has just been cementing its status as a financial hub, and also to a big extent wealth management hub as well. So as a result, like the whole policy is just very friendly to investor, and also it's a good city to live in. Like it's stable and good for bringing up families. So as a result, I think among Asia, if you want to talk about financial hubs, there's really Hong Kong and Singapore. In Hong Kong, given the recent uncertainty, I think just that a lot of people have been looking at Singapore as a better option over the last few years. And I think that having no capital gain tax is also a big draw. If you were to count on it, like among the developed countries that without any capital gain tax, I think there's only less than 5 of them. And Hong Kong and Singapore is the main two, and then you have New Zealand and some Middle Eastern country. So naturally, I think that attracts a lot of the crypto talents here, because I think the fact that you do not need to pay capital gain tax make a major differences in your decision making, and also to a big extent. And I think last but not least is just it's just a good place for the smart and rich people to base here as a tax domicile and all these things. So this naturally and slowly create a growing network effect. You know, smart people talk to each other and they form something here. And the major crypto company also see it as a very attractive base to set up their regional headquarters here. With the recent implementation of the regulation piece, what we call the Payment Services Act in Singapore, it given the centralized crypto exchanges a lot of regulatory clarity, so they are able to operate with a legal status here. So as a result, Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, they all hire a regional, or say Asia Pacific head that's all based in Singapore right now. So that definitely helped to grow the ecosystem here a lot more. And also DBS, the largest bank in Singapore, also announced that they have a crypto offering services that just launched late last year. So definitely have given a lot of legitimacy to the whole crypto space in Singapore.
Yeah, there's so much happening here, from like the private sector, like I said, like some of the largest banks, the regulators engaging, and then the people moving here as well for the tax reasons and so on. Although, like you mentioned, right, as a fund management and wealth management kind of hub, it seems that, you know, a lot of the firms here are like the trading firms, right, the hedge funds, the whales, and in terms of projects still, we don't see as much, or you think there is more like moving or should come?
I think that it's already punching above its weight given the population size, because it's a numbers game, right? The more people, the more software engineer you have, the more likely you are going to have a successful startup from whatever sector. So I think Singapore already have like a few, I think probably less than 5, but a decently successful DeFi startup, like Kyber Network, Switcho, and a few others as well. I think there's a few emerging, and they're probably anon, they're also based in Singapore. So I think given that it's doing well, but I definitely more can happen. I think that you guys at LongHash are doing a great job to accelerate that as well.
Thank you very much. Yes. All right, we have some time, so maybe we can speed up a bit and move to Thailand. Well, speaking of institutions now, we have an excellent case study already among us. We've looking at successful transition. So there's a very incredible story here. Thai, could you share about how did this SCB10X come about from like an institution into this kind of like venture building platform? And then what are the implications, or what do you see among the other institutions in Thailand or in Asia?
Yeah, for SCB10X, we are not just an investor, we are also the builder as well. We have developers in-house with strong technical capability. We would like to invest and then participate in the protocol. We invest and then participate in the ecosystem that we invest in. So for example, for Alpha Finance, because the team is really small and they innovate very fast. So we actually send our developers to go help them, with Alpha Homora. And yeah, that was wonderful because we also get to learn from Alpha Finance as well about DeFi. So in general, right now, we actually talk to a lot of corporates in Thailand who now interested in DeFi because they saw a lot of token, especially like Alpha and Band protocol from Thailand, right, went up 10 times, and they're excited about it, and they would like to know what's DeFi. So at SCB10X, we actually kind of like ambassador of DeFi, our people to go educate corporate in Thailand about DeFi 101, things like that, yeah.
Awesome. And we're certainly looking forward to that day where more institutions come in. I notice we have barely a few minutes left, so I'm just gonna like shrink the remaining few questions into one kind of a summary. So we've heard so many great insights today, right? From all the way from like the data to like retail to institutions and in various parts of the countries in Asia. So we also talk about some very practical steps to get started. At LongHash Ventures, we're actually putting together an Asia strategy playbook so that teams know where to start as well. We'll certainly incorporate many of the insights here today and bring that to the founders. We have also identified certain networks, like of course our own Asia DeFi network. There's a China chapter of the DeFi Alliance, which is great. There's IOSG's Kickstarter program, which has a lot of great people in Asia as well, and our own Accelerator program. So we're going to pull together all the service providers here, media, translation, institutions to connect with. So in the long run, still, it's best for everyone to have their own organic communities and serve as leaders from there, right? To wrap it up, do you have any kind of like very specific practical tips for teams or founders to grow in Asia, to get you as a user or like you think has worked? Just like some very practical tip, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think people here in Asia, they are less ideological, they're more practical. They'd like to see the product really delivered. I think, the reason behind why people like to have multi-chain was not just because they want to see the thing everywhere, but more like, they just want to use it regardless where the application is set at. They are less kind of like focusing on whether something is more decentralized versus something is, more of a POA type of chain or that kind of thing. So I think that's really what they looking for. They want like rapid iteration. They want products that can be, having some new features every now and then that they can test it out and give feedbacks, and the team can really be interacting with them. So I think that's one of the thing that I think Asian community would really like. On top of that, I think hiring someone who speaks the local language is actually also very, very important, because I think in Asia, as I wrote previously in another article, I think trust is like Asia is a very high trust community, as in like people really like to have FaceTime and real interaction. And at a post-COVID world, traveling is obviously hard, so you can't go there. But at least like having the FaceTime and to be at a lot of the AMAs, a lot of the offline panels and conferences, like those are also pretty pivotal. I think it's actually more important for Eastern community to see that compared to the Western. I think Western, they're very kind of open to Twitter discussion and Discord discussion. I think that's just like by nature, it's an East and West dichotomy. Yeah, and then even just like, getting exposure to the local KOL who have a lot of followers. I think those are also like pretty pivotal, as I think, the DeFi space has grown to become more community driven than institutional driven. So these key opinion leaders, the influencers, their opinions, whatever they write, is actually matter as much as what the institution said.
I think we can call it a day here, and thank you so much to everyone to share your insights with us today and join us in taking the time.
Great. Okay, so hopefully everybody who's watching enjoyed those sessions and learned learned something today. So obviously, first heard from CX at Filecoin, and he talked about a little bit what it's like to build on Filecoin, what are the different things you can do, and of course we had a lot of great insights from Arthur, Mable, Ty, and TM on what the DeFi landscape is like in Asia. So in addition to the obviously the content that we hope was useful and insightful, we also wanted to make this as a way for you to experience what it's like to be in a workshop or a fireside chat with our mentors as part of our LongHashX program. Now I know that there's a few. There's a few people that have been asking some questions. So please keep them coming, and we also have our team who has been answering some of the questions that you have about about the program and some of the details. What I'll do in the sort of last 8 minutes or so here is let me share my screen, and then let me go to presentation mode. So hopefully you can all see my screen. And I will share a little bit more details about the actual program. So okay, it seems like there's some issues with the screen, but anyway, so I'll just share it this way. Great. Okay, so yeah, so let me talk a little bit through the program itself and keep the questions coming in the meantime. So LongHashX is Asia's leading Web3 accelerator. So far, we have graduated 6 cohorts. We have over 40 alumni projects, and we've helped these projects raise over $100 million. And some of the notable participants in our accelerator program include Zapper, Incidap, Balancer, and Akala. And then just wanted to share some of the details. So as part of joining or being accepted into the program, you can get $80,000 in seed funding. Of course, in addition to that, your growth will be accelerator through some of the educational events like the ones that we hosted today, and also through our network. And through our over 1,000 investors that we have in our network. And some of the investors that connected with our projects after demo day include both crypto native investors, like Multicoin, Kinetic, and Boucher, and then some other even non-crypto native investors such as Sequoia. Just wanted to recap that our next cohort is actually segmented into 2 tracks. So the first one is the DeFi track, which is enabled by the Asia DeFi network. And the second one is a Filecoin Frontier Accelerator track, which we run in partnership with Protocol Labs. And so depending on what type of project you're building, you should choose one of the 2 tracks, and then you'll get access to the corresponding mentors to help you on your journey. We have 6 modules of support that are very Web3 native. So one is product strategy and design. Then we have tokenomics, governance. We have technical mentorship as well, community building, and fundraising. And of course, you will get very hands-on support, both from our team, including myself as a program lead, Pranav, who's our venture builder, but also you will be getting mentorship from some of the top builders and investors in DeFi, such as Stani from Aave, Kane from Synthetics, and then of course TM from Coingecko and Arthur from Defiance, whom you just heard from in the last 20 minutes. And we also wanted to share a little bit about how do we actually work with you? What does it look like in terms of the hands-on support that we give you, and how we actually get our hands dirty working together with you. So to do that, we wanted to illustrate that through an example of some of the support we gave to Balancer. So with Balancer, we help to shape the decentralized governance framework that they are in the process of adopting. We did so by actually hosting a small roundtable, with the founders of Aave, Synthetics, with Arthur from Defiance. We also, are actively writing governance proposals, and one notable one is on staking, as a precursor to and as a pre-enabler to a wider decentralized governance rollout. We also help Balancer with liquidity mining by developing a case study as to why you should provide liquidity to Balancer, and then introducing this to some big liquidity providers. And then lastly, we were actually awarded a grant by Balancer to help them build a community in China and leverage our network in China to help them build a strong, vibrant, and engaged community of users in there. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we're currently in the recruiting process. The applications close on the 9th of August, which is about 10 days from today. The application will close by then. We will then have 2 rounds of interviews between then and the 10th of September, by which we will select the projects, and we will get in touch with you by email if you've been selected. The program will begin in early October and will run for about 12 weeks. And then we'll have the demo day around mid-January, when you get a chance to pitch your project to investors. And after demo day, we'll continue to support you for a few weeks when we do one-on-one investor introductions and help to facilitate some of those discussions. A lot of people ask us, how do we evaluate projects? So at a very basic, you obviously need to have a Web3 native or a crypto native business model, an idea. And your business model, your idea, needs to tap into the network effects of public permissionless blockchains. And then there's a few other things we'll look at. We obviously look at where does your project or your idea fit into the Web3 ecosystem, and is it addressing either challenges or gaps in the ecosystem and in some of the trends that we're seeing in the Web3 space. And then we also look at the business model itself. How do you capture value? Depending on what stage you are, we also look at the tokenomics, and we of course evaluate that. The team is of course very important, so we'll look at what's your background, how crypto native are you, what's your technical ability, and then lastly, we look at what's your current starting position. So any funding history, what traction have you received, have you built a community, do you have partnerships, things like that. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of idea of the things that we look at. And finally, I think with that being said, we are super excited to receive your applications. So you can scan the QR codes on the top if you want to go straight to our website, learn a little bit more, and of course, go to the application link. And if you have any questions or any further questions about the program that we haven't covered today, scan the QR code below, and you can book 15 minutes with Pranav, who is our venture builder, and he will answer any additional questions you have. For example, if you're a bit unclear or undecided if you should apply for the DeFi track or the Filecoin track, you can certainly ask Pranav for guidance on that. And so, yeah, with that being said, I definitely want to thank you for your attention today, and thank you for joining us. And we are very much looking forward to receiving your application and welcoming you to be part of LongHashX. Thank you.